Hi, everybody. All right. Welcome to the second Drakenfest US Ref stream. My name is Mel. I have the absolute honor of hosting all of you today. I'm so excited to chat with some of our amazing ref teams. I am a Shadowcamp player and first-time LARPer as of last Drakenfest, so I'm super excited to be a bigger part of it. First thing I would like to do is actually have everyone go around and introduce themselves so we get to know who you are. Ducray, start. You're on my top.
Hi, my name is Ducray. I am one of the assistant head reps for Drakenfest US as of this year. The last 2 years, I have also been a ref. As of last year, it was Red Camp. Year before that, I was one of the Bizarre reps. And I think underneath me is Marcy, if I got the angle right.
Okay, well, hello, I'm Marcy. I am an in-game ref with the Fighters Guild. I gotta put on my other hat. I'm very proud of myself for this. But I spent my first year as a camp ref with Blue Camp, and I'm looking forward to even more adventures this year.
Let's
And I
go
guess
top right,
Anne.
Aeon.
Oh, goodness. Speaking as a former Blue 3 and now Bizarre 3, hi, I'm Aeon. I am one of the Bizarre refs for this year. I'm very happy to say that I started in Rockinfest and in their first year that they were at Slippery Rock. And now we're getting to do this for the fourth year in a row at Cooper's Lake. I'm really stoked.
Hey everybody, my name is Ronnie. I am the second on the battle team. This year will be my fourth year on the battle team, my fourth year at Drakenfest. I'm also the fire marshal for the event. I will be taking over the services of making sure that everyone's fires are safe for the event. I have a significant background in safety, which is why I get front row seats to all of you hitting each other with swords for the entire event, which I get a incredible view of for the entire event.
Amazing. All of you are wonderful. For chat, for anyone who's tuning in here, these are streams to kind of get to know your ref team. They are the people who really help make sure that everybody is safe and everybody is having a really good time at Fest. They're the people who you're running your crazy plots by. I know I did last year. So you get to run all your crazy plots by. They get to make sure that when you are hitting each other with foam sticks, nobody's getting hurt, or if someone does, they know how to take care of it. They're the people who tell you about all the rules, what is and isn't allowed, and make sure that they're enforced. So these streams are just to help you get to know them a little better and get to know what reffing is like. And today that's a big part of the stream because we are going to be talking about what kind of benefits you get as a ref, the things that you really enjoy as a ref, things that get to be a part of your experience. So we're actually going to start with all of the things that you get leading up to the event, all the things that are a part of the ref team in this time period, which is prior to event start in June. And we can continue in the same direction if all of you want. Otherwise, I'll let you popcorn. Have fun.
Yeah, so I can start. There's a lot of benefits that you get before the beginning of the festival, before you arrive on site. Kind of the I like to point at the more tangible benefits. I can let some of the other refs talk about the more the holistic benefits and more kind of soft things you get. But the specific things that I like to point out are one, your ticket, including early admittance, is covered, and you also get a discount for a traveling companion. So that could be a significant other, your best friend, whatever, just one other person that's traveling with you. And then there's also a pretty significant amount of training. And it is required to be a ref, but it also has a lot of value that you can take back to your home game or even take to tabletop role-playing games just by learning kind of how things are done and what you can potentially take from that to be able to use elsewhere.
I'll go with one of the more intangible ones. One of the other benefits that you get is that we do have our own kind of ref community and communications, and you can get to know a lot of pretty diverse group of people with a wide variety of skills. And I just found it great to work and meet so many cool people through being a ref. So definitely like expanding the people you know, and finding out who you're going to work with, is a great part of it.
So I'm gonna let Ronnie go first because my stuff kind of leans from when we arrive going in. So I'm gonna let you.
Yeah, so I just want to kind of echo what Ducray and Marcy said. Going back to what Ducray said, the training program is actually really comprehensive. For anybody who has any interest in like event management or running a LARP of their own one day, like the experience you get from a project this size is like nothing else. Like Dragonfest, it bills itself as the largest LARP in North America, and in that regards, you really get to see the behind the scenes of what this operation looks like. And when you're working on the preseason side of things, like we're like some of us are already doing our trainings now. The event's not till June, and we're kind of like already up to it. And the kind of experience you gain from that is like nothing else. And you don't need any experience to join the ref team. The big thing being is that the experience you get in the off season lends itself to the actual event itself. And we all show up very prepared. We've read the rule book, we've done our trainings. It's great in that regards, and it's a huge like resume builder. Like it's not to make it sound boring, but the training is really comprehensive. They put the team that does our trainings are very dedicated, and every year we're improving it. Every year I learn something new every year. I've been LARPing for a long time, and every year I go to Dragonfest, I just learn something new. And then kind of what like Marcy was saying is that the networking of it all is incredible. Like we have now been at this for about half a decade now. This will be half a decade of Dragonfest in North America, and I've met people 4 years ago now. I have friends that I've now known for years. Marcy and Aeon are in my region, and we run games together and we play together at other LARPs. And the networking is just really valuable. You're always meeting somebody new, people who've never LARPed before, people who've been LARPing for 20 years. And I get a kick out of it. Just being on the ref side, I get to meet so many different people because when you're a ref, you're interacting with the whole game.
Absolutely. And you touched on some of the things that I think are really, really vital, especially as a ref. When you are refing, not only do we have training off site prior to when we get there, but once we are on site, we have 2-3 days that we really use to hone on the skills face to face that we're going to need through the entire week. I would really say that refing is like doing a leadership training course, but you get to do fantasy shenanigans at the same time. So a lot of the training that we do is de-escalation, learning how to spot and mitigate risk, conflict resolution. You really get to learn about the people that you're both working with and serving. So you can honestly take that and bring it into any sector in the workforce or in apprenticeships, wherever you are. Like refing is all communication and learning how to manage and coordinate large groups of people. God forbid there was an emergency last year with all of the weather, so we had to as refs really step up and step in and go, we have to make sure all of our people are safe. We need to communicate to large groups of people. How do you do that? And without that training, I really don't think it would have been nearly as successful. This is really one of the reasons I come back every year to Drakenfest, is that you really learn the kind of leader that you are when you are refing. And each camp, each section, in-game, out-of-game, bazaar, camp, battle, we are all here serving the whole, and you learn something new in each of those sectors.
And you get 6 t-shirts. Yeah.
Do
So
love
you get
t-shirts.
I'm such a dork. You get 2 staff t-shirts and a hat. The magic hat that lets everyone know that you're a ref. And I believe it's going to be the same colors for the in-game refs. or the out of game refs, sorry, the camp refs, and the in game refs have a little bit of a different outfit on most of the time, but we still carry that.
Excellent. And I can definitely say from a player perspective that all of that training that you are all talking about shows through so well during the game. Especially Aeon, you brought up the storm last year, and anyone who was at Drakenfest last year remembers how crazy the weather got right from day one. And I can honestly say I know we had a couple of shadow refs who were running around and checking in on all of our tents and making sure that everybody was being safe. Nobody was in a position where they would get hurt, anything like that, making sure we didn't lose a whole lot of tents. It was great to feel that everything was so well handled because all you really had to do was sit and wait for the call that it was all clear. And it was so wonderful to sit and know that the situation was so well handled. So, thank you all for that. That was amazing, impeccable. All right, so we talked a little bit about the stuff that is pre-game. Now, we mentioned that refs come early onto site, even earlier than the early arrival ticket that us players can buy, which makes a whole lot of sense. But what kinds of things are the immediate arrival up to leading up to game that everyone would like to talk about being a ref, some of those things that might interest people?
I can start again. So, like you mentioned, that the player early arrival, the earliest you can be on site as a player is Monday. Refs can arrive. It varies a little bit year to year, depends on when the board arrives, basically, and if you have a specific task or duty that you have to accomplish. But generally, Saturday is a safe bet. Sunday for sure. And a lot of what you'll be doing is if you have some additional duty. So Ronnie mentioned that he's a fire marshal. He may be starting to do walkarounds and look at some of the very preliminary setup stuff on, say, Monday when the players start arriving, just to make sure that, like, hey, while you're setting up your wall over here, don't put your tiki torches right next to this wood, or something to that effect. I'm in charge of our communications program this year, so I'm going to be running around the site, testing radios and making sure those will work in basically every square inch of the site that I can, so that we have good communications this year. Aeon is our logistics coordinator, and they will be showing up on site to do inventories, to get things sorted, to make sure that all of our ref equipment, we're going to have totes with all of the stuff you need for each camp to have ref stuff. And that's all starting Friday. I believe you're getting there right Friday this year, Aeon?
I'm setting out from work on Friday night, and I will be arriving first thing Saturday morning.
Yep. Yeah, and so we're there very early, starting to get the ball rolling, and that's not every staff member, not every ref needs to be there that early, but you have the opportunity to, and then you'll also be able to help set up some of the staff tents. We've got 40, 50 tents kind of spread out, depending on, like, we've got tents for each of the guilds. We've got, there's a staff bunkhouse, barracks tent. We've got a few different staff tents for, we've got like a dining tent. We've got like a staff cool down hangout tent. We've got like a medical tent. We've got a bunch of staff camping tents. And we all kind of just come together to help set up that, as well as any other structures that may need to go up, although the build team does take care of the bulk of that. But we do have a hand in that, especially, like I said, if you want to show up Saturday and you've got no other specific thing to do, we can always use extra hands.
Yeah, I get to be there probably on Saturday because we've got a guild to set up, so you always get extra love helping the guild. Anyways, that's just a shameless plug. One of the things that's kind of a nice perk of getting there early is you've got a chance to really kind of get your place set up, and you don't have to worry about crowds and a bunch of other people at the same time. You can just kind of get your space set up and decorated the way you want. and you've got that. It always makes me feel better to have my place ready to go. Little, but it's not insignificant.
And I will say that as we do start getting the ball rolling and as our on-site training is happening, we're also fed. Not gonna lie, an army marches on its stomach, and the food that we get, like I grew up camping with my family every summer. A lot of what we do is kind of like what we would call scout food. So we've got like barbecue, burgers, sausages, we got so much salad. We have fresh veg every day, mac and cheese, roasted chicken. If you have any issues or any allergy concerns, there is an opt-out procedure, which we can figure out alternate food or a stipend based on what's going on with the day. And
And
that's 3 times a day, breakfast, lunch, dinner.
and I'm gonna also note that the food is actually pretty good. Like it's actually food you want to eat, not just like it. I've been impressed.
Yeah, the food is actually done by one of the on-site food vendors.
Mhm.
They have a food truck that they sell food to players and staff and everything. But then on the backside, the owner of that business is making food for 150, 200 people 3 times a day, which usually I think it's him and his wife. Um, and they go through a lot of food, but I've never been upset by it. I am also not the pickiest eater in the world, to be
Mhm.
fair, but I've never been upset by it.
So when it comes to the full experience, though, showing up early to this event, it really makes me feel like it's a vacation. Um, I don't play the game. I don't have a character. I know a lot of the refs do double duty and have a character that they play when they're on their off time, but I don't. I just help run the event. And the significance of showing up early again makes it really feel like a vacation. Like the other refs who were just talking about, like, oh, there's tents and there's food and like you're taken care of. Being able to show up early makes it like that week long experience. And for some of us, we come a great distance to where the campsite is in Western Pennsylvania. I personally live up in New Hampshire, so I have to drive. It's like about 12-hour drive for me, and so I lose basically a day on each end for the travel. Because you could fly, but you need to bring a lot of stuff, and fitting that on an airplane is kind of a pain. Some people do fly. There's the local Pittsburgh airport you can just fly into, but I drive, and being able to just like clear my week, go out to Pennsylvania, and take all that extra time to like get set up and play the game and be at the game is great. I go to the event with my partner Paige, and we go out to the event. And her getting there early is great because she's with me. She gets to show up at the event. She gets to set up her tent. She gets to set up all her stuff. And that's less worry about her schedule because she's not worried about like showing up last minute. And for me, it really gives me an added value of like I have taken all this time off from work. I have packed up my car. I've driven all this way. I could be there as early as Sunday or Saturday, and that really makes it worth my time. Yeah, I keep a busy schedule, and being able to just be like, nope, I'm gonna go to Pennsylvania for the week. It really makes it a full experience as far as I'm concerned.
And it's fun to hang out with your ref cohorts before everything gets started.
Yeah, that's definitely another thing. I I get very very busy once the festival starts. So those first couple of days are some of the only time I get to see some of the other refs. And it may be that you're not even that busy, but your schedules just don't align. If you're like working nights and your friend who's a ref is working days, oh no. You can always ask for, scheduling workarounds with your lead, but it doesn't always work out. I'm not a morning person at all. I usually take the afternoon shifts. Um,
You
I have a
sleep at
dog.
Dragon Fest? That's
Yes.
wild.
it's like 6 hours, if that.
Sleep you speak of. I got a game to do.
It's whenever the sun wakes me up.
I'm only a morning person at Drakenfest for some reason.
I wake up at like 6 or 7 because the sun starts coming in through the tent, and then it gets hot in there. I'm like, I can't sleep anymore. It's time to get up.
I will
I
say,
stay in a big decorum canvas tent too, so it's an experience.
I will say that is one benefit of being a Bazaar ref that I am very grateful for. When you wake up in the bazaar, it feels like you're waking up in a castle town.
Mhm.
And people start waking up, going about their business, getting a cup of coffee from Curse Coffee, hearing the news, seeing what's on the board with all the schedules. You'll see people start getting ready for their lessons that they do with the guilds. And I just feel at home in that moment, like in the mornings at Drachenfest, because like not only do I get to live that life for a week, I also get to help make it grow and see how people's plots go. That's such a cool benefit, is like I get like an eagle eye view from morning till night.
And I will say again, coming in as a player and coming in, I did the early arrival last year. I'll be doing it this year. I come in on Monday. I was the crazy person last year who flew with all of my things because I come internationally. I don't come as far as some of the people in the US, but I do come internationally. So it was, driving is not always the easiest. You have to navigate border things, and it's a whole thing. Plus, I don't currently have a car. But coming in on Monday and having all of the refs just ready to go, it makes you feel like nobody's scrambling, which is a really good feeling. It makes you feel like all of the people who are there to help you have a good time are already ready to go. And from a player perspective, seeing all of you so cohesive, so together, and so ready when we get there makes a huge difference, especially as someone who was brand new and had no idea what she was doing going in. So that was, from a player perspective, it's amazing that you all get those few days and get to bond and get to get set up and get everything ready to go so you can just be there ready to make the game happen. And we thank you for it. Okay. So we've done the pre, we've done the couple of days. Meat and potatoes. What are some of the things that you get as a ref out of game?
Well, so we already did talk about the hat and the shirts, right? And these are
Yep.
very fancy.
The sweet merch.
Yeah. Oh, you can actually see. Yeah. On.
Oh yeah.
I'm actually. I think Marcy and I are the only one wearing the T-shirt. But the other three all have the hoodie. Mine's hung up right now. It's too hot in my house for a hoodie. But yeah, we get. There's staff hoodies you can buy. There's also the the Drachenfest merch, the T-shirts, the hoodies for this year. It'll be the Reign of Blue. Last year it was the Reign of Silver. The themed ones for each year, and we get discounts on those. We also get discounts on tents from Tentsmith, one of the sponsors of Drachenfest. And we do occasionally, it's not always guaranteed, but we do occasionally get discounts from some of the other sponsors of Drachenfest. I know last year, I want to say Epic Armory and Kalmakill both offered us discounts. We like, and it's, of course, those are just the various like tangible, you can put a number on it thing. But even outside of that, being able to sit down and, have a tankard of mead with somebody who's been doing the same thing you have for 3 days is really a genuinely a good time. I don't know if the rest of you have other things you can think of.
So I've got kind of two sides of it. One is you do get an incredible sense of camaraderie when you come together with this group of people and you actually have your trial by fire. And it's always really great knowing that the team has your back. and that is something that I have experienced over and over again being a ref here at Drakenfest, and it's always warmed my heart in difficult times. Because like I won't lie, there's a lot that goes on, and sometimes it's easy to wear yourself out, and there's ups and downs. Um, I live for the ups. Um, One of the things that I loved as a camp ref, and I also love as an in-game ref, is though that seeing that look on a player's face when you have helped them do the crazy shenanigans they want to do, when you have given them that direction, and then they do it, and they come and tell you about it, and they got that sparkle in their eye, and you're just like, and doing the rituals was actually one of my highlights too of my first year, is running the rituals, and you get to learn how to do that in the training. But that was just, it's so rewarding to see players have these ideas and then execute them in ways that sometimes it might not be the way they initially planned, but when it comes together and the wackiness happens or the epicness happens, it's just incredible to behold.
And that is one of the things that will get us coming back year after year,
Mhm.
is just the stories that we get to see y'all craft and help y'all
Mhm.
craft. From a skeleton wedding to building the moon to anything you can really think of. Um,
Yeah,
we're
it sounds.
there we're there for the players. And honestly, the amount of chatter that happens behind ref tent flaps about how to make that work sometimes, incredible. The amount of um, people getting together for a singular purpose is a great holistic benefit, I would say. I will say there are a lot of additional like little bits. We do have snacks and beverages. We've got like a ref care tent where we can just take five for a bit. There is um, usually like a little bit of a thank you gift that we have, which I'm really happy to say that I will be helping put together this year in logistics. Um, I I love numbers, and I love documentation. So the fact that I get to do that and hone that skill is also very fun. Um, but during Fest, really what it is we have the benefit of hearing all the stories because there are what 1,200 people more than that, and the amount of things that you'll miss if you're just like a player and you're not getting to hear about anybody else's shenanigans, you're focused on your own shenanigans. Love that. But hearing everybody's shenanigans and seeing who's best friends with who and who's set up a bandit ring on the road at 10 o'clock at night, like that's something that I'm never gonna get tired of. I absolutely love this part of reffing.
So yeah, in regards to that community building that a lot of the other refs have just talked about, where you're getting to see the festival from this kind of out of game perspective. One of the big things that I enjoy, especially being on the battle team, is knowing that I'm part of this community in a way that's keeping it safe. Safety is one of my big things. Is not only the fire marshal, but being on the battle ref team, and then worrying about like the like emotional safety of all the participants involved. It really plugs you right into the community because there are people who are participating in the game and enjoying the game. They've come from all over. They've come from all over the world. They've come from Europe. They've come from other parts of the United States or North America, and being at the event and having that responsibility of trying to keep folks like safe it's really important to me. I know a lot of the players. A lot of the players are my friends. A lot of the players are pretty close to me, and in this regards, I know that they're being safe because I'm the person running the safety, and it makes them feel good about being part of this community because they can trust the people who are running the game, and I feel good about the community knowing that my friends are in a safe environment. And that's everything from like making sure that people aren't getting sunburns to me supervising a fight that has 1,000 people hitting each other out in an open field. And you know, in this regards, being able to have that top-down view of everything as a battle ref is probably one of my favorite parts of the job. I Whenever a bigger fight breaks out, they need the battle team to go watch it. Like people can go and have like a duel out in the woods or something, but anytime we're talking that there's more than 50 people hitting each other, the battle refs get to go and watch that. And I get the best, in my opinion, I get one of the best views of the game because I get to go wherever the fight is. I really enjoy the physicality of that. Some of the refs, are at their camp or at the bazaar, like they are stationed in a place. The battle team gets to move around. I get to go see every camp. I get to see every battlefield. I get to see the walls that these players have built. I get to see the monsters that these people have built. I inspect all the siege weapons. I inspect all the battle monsters. I'm making sure that everything looks good, feels good, is safe, and I get to see everything. I'm usually talking to players after the event, and I'm like, oh, did you see this? Oh, did you see that? And they're like, no, I missed that. And I'm like, well, I got to see it because I got that view as a ref. And I think it's one of those benefits you can't really put a price tag on. It's, I got to see every siege weapon. I got to see every monster. I got to see everything in the game. And so I think you get a view like nothing else. If you were thinking about playing this game and you spent your first year refing, in certain ref positions, you could see the whole game and then decide like what part of this game is going to be your thing. Like, do you want to be up in the bazaar? Do you want to be like someone who's vending? Do you want to be someone who's leading a big battle? Do you want to get involved in the guilds? The refs give you such a like being in that ref position gets you such a perspective, and then you can kind of really drill down as a player as to what you want to do later.
And that's a really cool point that I don't think is made enough is that you can be new and you can be a ref. And it's very, because of all the training you get and all of the comprehensive kind of direction that all of you get, is that people who are thinking, oh, it's my first time, I don't think I want to be on staff, which was my opinion last year, was I don't know if I know enough about this to be a member of staff in that way. It's very cool to hear that perspective and that thought process of I can see the entire game and then decide where I fit. And that is such a cool way to think about it and look at it for anyone who might be kind of in between thinking like, I haven't been there. I don't know if I want to do a ref thing. Refing your first year is a pretty cool experience from what I understand, because you're not the only one who said that to me. I'm friends with a couple of people who first year was refing.
Yeah, I strongly encourage it to anybody who wants to try out the game in kind of a no strings attached way, because again, you're not paying to come to the event as a ref. You show up, you're getting 3 square meals a day. You're usually getting taken care of. Like we have a tent for you or something, and you get to see the whole production. And for anybody who wants to really get the feel for that, like you'll see it. Like you won't be playing all the time. Yes, you'll have a character, and yes, during your off shifts you can like play the game. But if you want to see the game, no one sees it like the refs does. We see so much, and I think it's one of those benefits that like I talk up to all my friends. I get back from Drakenfest and I'm like, oh, you should have seen this monster they built, and I got to see them like slam it against the wall, and like this other camp over here had like this like masquerade party, and like I wasn't invited because I'm not a player in a game, but like I got to watch them like set this whole thing up, and like it's great. You as a ref, you really do get to see the whole production.
And I love that. And I will say there's a couple of people mentioned too, like how excited you get hearing all of the plots that players are doing and seeing all of it. I can say from a player perspective who had 2 refs in particular in Shadow who kept coming every time I came back to camp, what's the update? What's going on? I want to hear more about what you're doing. It's been mentioned so many times since last year, and it makes my heart so happy because again, first year, first LARP, I didn't know what I was doing. And to know that there were so many people so excited to see what I was doing is a huge lift as a player, too. So when y'all get excited, we get excited. And I think it's a huge, good reciprocal thing that when the players are excited doing cool things, the refs are getting excited. And when the refs are getting excited about your plot, the players getting excited to do it. It's a great experience all around that y'all are so good at doing and so good at making us feel like, yes, we can do things. Even if it's something we can't actually do, it's, well, no, but here, let's try this. Let's figure out what you can do instead. Let's make this workable because this is going to be a really cool thing. And that really helps us as players shape our stories in that limited view that we do have. It makes us feel like we're doing something impactful and important, and that's a huge thing that y'all are so good at, and it makes me so happy to hear that it is as uplifting for you as it is for us. So, we are roughly 15 minutes out from the end of our stream, so I think it is time that we take a few questions that are going on in chat. So the first one I think is probably going to be a throw to the chat box for more of the Drakenfest staff, but maybe you guys can kind of have an idea of why that might be. And that's a question, what's the best way for camps to start their own versions of the guilds? The thought being, along with relieving the pressure of the guilds for classes, it also gives camps their own unique stories and identity. And I'm thinking Marcy's probably a very good person to answer this.
Well, I think that's definitely something that you should speak to chat box for additional clarification and comments. But in Drakenfest, one of the great things about Drakenfest and being a player at Drakenfest is that you have the ability to tell your story and get other people to tell their story. And if there's a direction you want to go into, there can be a way. But I think that particular question would be best served by for additional details on it if you hit the chat box.
I think, and you know, bouncing off of that, there is at least some precedence, that's the word I'm looking for here, of players wanting a guild hard enough and being willing to put in the work and work with the board of directors to create their own guild. That's how the Crafters Guild was, or the Crafters Union rather, was created. It was a player-driven initiative that one of the companions actually stepped out of being a player and stepped into a staff position to run that. And it took about a year of like out of game work, like 9 months to a year of out of game work. So it's not a small undertaking, but it is potentially possible. But that is something you would, like Marcy said, you would need to go work with the chat box, and that'll get you in touch with the appropriate stakeholders for that, who can definitely point you in the right direction and help you succeed for whatever you're trying to do in that regard.
And the chat box that everyone's speaking about, if you're not familiar, is on the actual Drakenfest website. There is a chat box that you can submit a question to, and someone will get back to you. It's usually decently timely. I've used it before. The staff are fantastic about answering any and all of your questions. So please use it if you have any additional questions, if you need to get in contact with someone on staff. They are fantastic. I cannot say enough good things about this team that helps put on this game. So please don't be afraid. Please use it. Okay, scrolling back up because I actually tried to keep track of the questions. Is there a service that the refs offer that you feel is underutilized? DeGray, you start. I'm just gonna start picking in order.
Every time. I think I don't know if it's necessarily a service, but it's something that we are able to help with. I think a lot of players don't go to refs when they are in a bad mood or like feeling down or just having generally like a rough time. Last year's a perfect example, right? All of us were there. Obviously, Mel, you mentioned the weather earlier. For those people who are watching who weren't at the last Drakenfest US, we had 2 micro squalls hit the site. There was flooding in multiple camps. We had to shelter in place due to lightning. We were setting up to potentially evacuate a couple of the camps due to a river potentially breaking its bank. It got very hairy. We handled it. Nobody was majorly injured. I think we had some minor scrapes and bumps and that kind of thing. It ended up being okay, but obviously, like I know specifically, I saw somebody who had a yurt that they had not gotten the cover over the top hole in their yurt before it started raining. So that means that just torrential downpour directly onto all of their bedding, all of their clothes, everything. And they were understandably very upset. I would be too in that situation. And that happened to, probably at least a couple hundred people where most, if not all of their stuff was soaked. And so in scenarios like that, a lot of people will just kind of stew in their emotions and not reach out to the ref team for help. Because we do have access to resources and contacts to help with that. Last year, we were fortunate enough to be able to open up a building called the Hangar, which is all the way at the top of the site. So it's basically on the top of a hill, and it's an actual building. So people were able to move into there after their stuff was soaked, so they can at least be somewhere dry, right? And they can stay if like their tent had collapsed, because we did have quite a few tents collapse, and even some of the decorum, canvas, giant wood poles, the wood pole snapped. The winds were that crazy, but a lot of players won't come to us in those scenarios because they don't realize that we can help with that. I think that's probably the biggest one. That's the biggest thing that I think that players aren't coming to us for, is just they don't realize it, and it may be that we can't always, we can't always help, right? We don't have the answer to every single question or every single problem, but at least we can get you pointed in the right direction if we're not able to directly help.
And sometimes the direction is really the best thing that you can give. I, again, will never be able to say enough how immaculately that storm situation was handled, because y'all did so well. Just so well. It was absolutely crazy weather. Continuing in the order that we did the first time, Marcy.
That I think is underutilized by players to refs or refs
It
benefits.
The question was just, is there a service that refs offer that you feel is underutilized?
Honestly, I kind of feel like players do utilize a lot of the refs as intended, and I think and the refs utilize the stuff on their side as well. So I mean, I think it's the biggest thing I would say is that if anything, a lot of refs can kind of get a little excited to stay in the game all the time, so they might underutilize their time off a bit, because sometimes you get so invested in your camp and your players that it's hard to want to take a break sometimes. And I will say what I'm kind of segueing a little bit. That's how I am. One of the most important lessons that you can learn as a ref is how to pace yourself during this insanely huge event, because there is so much going on, and it's admittedly something that I am learning practical lessons on, as we do, but you just get so into it, and you get into helping the players, and you get into seeing the light in their eyes, or trying to help them through an issue, that you're like, I don't need a break, and then you might need one. Yeah, don't look at me, Aeon.
I mean, every one of us are part of that circle. We're always going to keep an eye out for each other as much as the players, because once you have the hat in hand, um, you take on a responsibility, right? Not only to the players and to your peers, and also to yourself. Because if you do not take care of yourself, then you are now taking yourself out of the equation entirely. And the same way that a rising tide will lift all ships, if people are dropping like flies around you, you need to be aware of that, and to be able to, if you can, reach your hand out to your fellow ref and be there for them just as much. I'm the kind of person who will spread myself thin to a lot of different responsibilities. And Decray's laughing at me because they've seen it. How dare you?
Jacques Hugh.
But I mean, pot meets kettle with you. I think that, but circling back to the original question, I think that something that's underutilized is we've lived it, a whole bunch of us. Even if we haven't lived it at Drachenfest before, a whole bunch of us are coming with prior experience, either from social service fields or from games at home. We bring with us our experience and all of our training that we then do offsite and then on-site to be able to assist. So if you feel like you have a question, like we always have a copy of the war book. Like we are trained in knowing how things go. If you forget a rule, just ask. Like the amount of times that I spent my first year ever at Drachenfest with a copy of the rule book, talking to players and learning side by side. That is the most important thing. I think that is underutilized is we have all of that knowledge and experience. Just tap it. It is very easy to do. We're easy to find. Either at the camp ref stands or at the bazaar ref tent, which is bright canary yellow, or there's a battle ref wandering around and you go, hey, I just have a quick question. Even if they don't have the answer, they have an entire network just ready over the earpiece, ready to go. So I'm just gonna do that and pass it along.
So my answer to the question is far less heartfelt than the other refs who were like, "Oh, come see our experience and come talk to us." As the battle ref, I want to see more battles. I wish you guys would hit each other more so I can, get some popcorn and watch. The big thing being is that we're always fighting the weather, the heat or the rain, and a lot of times people are just like, I don't feel like putting on my gambeson and my armor and marching out to some other camp and fighting people in the woods. But the battle ref team is there for you guys. We're on the team because we have an interest in that aspect of the game. Dragonfest is a big comprehensive LARP where there's role playing, crafting, and politicking. But you spend all that money on the armor and the swords. We want to see you guys get out there and use it. Anytime you guys want to do a big old battle, come get one of us because we want to watch it. We want to keep it safe. And a lot of times we will encourage the action. We'll give you guys some advice. It's like, hey, maybe go check on that other camp. I don't know. Maybe go get their banner or something. We're trying to keep the game going. And again, sometimes it's just like it's 1,000 degrees outside. Maybe you don't want to go hit each other for 2 hours. But in that aspect of the game, the battle team is always here for you guys. We want to see that going on. And in regards to what services don't get used enough, everybody on the battle team wants to watch a fight. So we're always here to watch you guys. We're always here to encourage that safe and fun play.
Hit more people with foam swords.
I want everyone to fight too.
Yes. Marcy and I are big advocates for violence.
Play violence, Twitch. Play violence.
As dramatic as possible. Like
dramatic violence.
Yeah, like live out your anime fight dreams. That's what we want to see.
It's theatrical combat. This is what we want. All right, we have one more question. I've heard all of the benefits and the good things about being a ref. Is there a negative aspect or a least favorite thing that you would like to speak on?
I'll jump in front of the bus here because I'm chatty. I think one of the hardest things is that sometimes you have to bring the hammer down because somebody has decided to act in a way that is unbecoming to the peace of the people around them. I was trying to say that the most diplomatic way possible. But it can there's kind of two aspects to it. One is like sometimes people need to get a card because they have done something that has earned it, and you have to tell them, and that can be can be kind of stressful. And the other thing is like any LARP, sometimes somebody might just have like roll all ones and just have a bad time because everything goes wrong, and it can be like you always want to do your best for these players, but sometimes it can be a little heart-wrenching to see people, um, I have not seen like an irrevocable case of that, but it's hard to see people that have been so excited just have no luck with what they want to do.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, my least favorite thing is probably uh, you end up with a little bit of a FOMO, right? Fear of missing out. Like, yes, I absolutely love what I'm doing as a ref. I love working with the ref team, and I love that aspect of the festival. But it does mean that I don't get to do as much in character, in play things as I would otherwise. And I was able to, what I did last year was I set myself reasonable expectations of things that I was going to be able to do. And I was able to hit pretty much all of those. But my first year, I came in as a player. And I was doing stuff the whole time. I was every waking moment I was busy. Like even there's only so many hours in a day, and I'm going to be using all of them either way. So now that I'm doing refing, obviously some of those get sacrificed to the altar of the ref, and it sucks sometimes, right? I do get to see or do most of the things I want to do, but I know somebody mentioned earlier that there was a masquerade, the dance macabre in Shadow Camp last year, and I really wanted to go, but I was busy, so I was not able to make that. But it's sometimes that happens. I'm hoping that I can try and make it this year. We'll see. That's one of the things that I'm looking forward to. Amongst other things, there's a lot of stuff that I try and make sure I keep on my schedule and character, but I know that I won't be able to do it all.
Yeah, someday I'll go to that too. Someday.
I've been trying to get to the Bardic Guild competition every single year since I started. I will say the Friday Scaries are my least favorite, I think. So everybody who is maybe not used to camping or maybe not used to long-term LARP will have a part of Friday, whether that be the morning or the afternoon when you hear cheering from like some part of the campsite ages off in the distance, where you just have that moment of like, I am so physically and mentally exhausted that I need to have a good cry. Um, that's something that being a ref, you sometimes have to swallow your own Friday scaries in order to help someone else get through their Friday scaries. I really love the work that I do, but people often forget that it is work.
So, in regards to the part of refing that I find the most difficult, it's very similar to what Marcy was saying, where it's tough being the bad cop. Like, there's the good cop and the bad cop, and when you're dealing with certain aspects of the reffing and you have to like, be the killjoy and be like, hey guys, you got to put that fire out. Hey guys, it's 2 o'clock in the morning. Maybe you should go back to your tents. Or like, you're in a big old fight and someone like breaks a weapon and you'd have to like, hey, you can't use that weapon anymore. Well, why? Well, the core is sticking out and it's really unsafe. It's like, oh, I spent a lot of money on this sword. It's like, yeah, I know, and it looks really cool, and I'm sorry someone stepped on it, but like, you can't be swinging that around anymore. And I get through it a little bit easier because again, so much of my job is just safety focused, where I'm just like, well, I have to be a killjoy because I don't want you getting hurt. But it is kind of tough. The festival itself, Drakenfest, is a game and people are having fun, and it's tough being that like the guy who's on the straight and narrow who's just like, there's the rules, you gotta follow the rules. But just like in other aspects of society, we just need people to occasionally just be like, hey, there are rules. You can't be throwing that rock. You can't be lighting that on fire. Like, maybe go put that knife away. It's actually a real knife. What are you doing? Things like that. um,
Yeah, don't fight drunk.
yeah,
Yeah.
there are aspects of that, but I think in some regards it's very character building. If you've never managed a large event or you've been like a camp counselor or worked in childcare or something where you have to like politely guide people to being well behaved, it can be tough. It can be tough to be that authority figure. And for the most part, again, refs aren't doing this for the power trip. I get no pleasure from telling people like, your sword's too long. That's a two-hander. You can't use that in one hand. What are you doing? Like, none of us are interested in that sort of like power. We're interested in keeping people safe, and as long as you can like keep focused on that, like that's the most important part of refing, as far as I'm concerned. And so it's tough sometimes, but it's important.
Amazing. There's always a good like give and take when it comes to these kind of roles, especially with as big a game as Drakenfest is. So I'm sure it's great for the chat that you guys are so transparent about some of the things that are not necessarily the most fun about the job, because we've talked a lot tonight about how fun reffing is as a whole, because it is. It's a very cool job. So it's great to hear kind of that give and take. And it's great to hear that it's still such a fun job overall. All right. Can refs earn a skill? I think Marcy, I think you wanted to take this one real quick. Marcy's
So,
so excited.
fun fact, as a ref, you can get a skill and you can, in fact, join a guild. So, my first year at Drakenfest, I joined, sit down for this one. I joined the Fighters Guild, my first Drakenfest, and it was so awesome that I'm like, yeah, I want to do more of the Fighters Guild, and then that's basically the story of why I'm in this position now. But yes, you can earn a skill, and in fact, we encourage you to like go to the guild. Like, I encourage everyone to go to at least one guild class or training, because you will learn a real world skill. And on top of that, like, the role play is awesome, and there'll be a mix of classes that give skills and some that don't, but they're all worth it. You can take as many non-skilled classes as you want too, by the way.
Amazing. I love it. We only have about 5 minutes left, so this is going to be a rapid fire round, but this was asked on the last stream, and I think it's really important to hear from all of you on this one. I want y'all to give a really rapid fire, quick favorite moment from your last game, because y'all are as involved in all of this as the rest of us are, and I know you have them, and I'm sure everybody would like to hear them. DeCraig, go. I'm going to put you in order because we have a short amount of time left.
Could you say that one more time? Repeat the question. I was looking at the chat. I'm sorry.
Give us a rapid fire favorite moment from last year, because I think it's important that we hear your guys'
last
favorite
year.
moments.
Oh man, last year was crazy. I have two. So one was a group of red campers. I was red camp ref who found a goose hydra statue in the woods. I will provide no more context to that, but they were not sure what effect this would have on the player who picked it up. So they threw a net on this player and then pulled them back over to the ref stand. And they were like, "Hey, we found this thing. What do we do now?" And so I'm like, let me make a call because I don't know. And that was very funny. The other one would be when Blue sieged the bazaar, as it were. It's the story goes. The
Fun
Blue gang
fact.
had.
So fun fact, that's my favorite moment as well. I
Well,
was
there you
calling
go,
that
Ronnie.
battle. Yeah, so just to kind of piggyback off of Ducray there, the battle team is usually about somewhere between 5 and 10 people, and we're usually all over the camp. And what ends up happening is if there's a fight going on at one end of camp and a fight going on the other end of camp, we have to split ourselves up as the battle team. And we usually take refs from wherever the fight's going on. So if like Silver is shadowing is sieging Shadow, we have Shadow camp refs and we have Silver camp refs, and then we have the battle refs, and that's usually enough to cover a fight. The Bazaar was a little bit interesting because what ended up happening was Blue marched all the way around the lake, was trying to fight any camp, and all the camps were like, no, we're good. And eventually we're like, well, we'll go fight the Bazaar. And the companions up in the Bazaar were like, yeah, we'll fight you, whatever. And so it was kind of strange because like Blue had like picked up like this rainbow coalition where they had grabbed people from every other camp that wanted to fight but didn't have enough people to like run a siege at their camp. And they march up to the Bazaar, and the companions come down. They agree to terms, and they have this big old fight in front of like Limbus, out in the big old field there. And this is one of the few fights that I actually called. Normally, the head battle ref calls the fight and like is organizing it. Red, our head battle ref, was just busy, so I was there, and I ended up calling the fight with none other than Dan Comstock, like the game director himself. Him and I were the two that actually called that fight, and it was just like nothing I'd ever seen before because like everyone was coming out of the Bazaar and they were showing up with like pots and pans and bricks to like fight like the Blue army that was like in armor and fully mustered, and like this huge just like brawl breaks out. It's not even like a fight, it's not like formations or anything, it's just this kind of field brawl. And it was like one of my favorite things to watch that year, and I felt great because it was one of the few fights that I got to call because the other battle refs weren't there, and to this day it's still one of my favorite memories from last year.
Amazing.
I kind of just like getting people who are so it's kind of a composite, but like whenever I get a player that comes and they're new to fighting and they're not quite sure how it works, and I can show them how they can look so cool swinging a sword around or being hit by a sword, like it always makes me just excited. I also love giving little children swords to hold, but I didn't do that much that last year. I just do that in my sword demos. But getting people who are like just seeing someone and fighting someone who's enthusiastic about being super dramatic theatrically is just the best, most rewarding experience I can't even express it.
I will always say one of my favorite moments that we can experience as a ref is it's gonna sound cliche. So deal so I will just say we as refs hold the circle at the Great Ritual Circle at opening and closing ceremonies. And there is just something very magical about being there on the edges with the players all at your back and nothing but camaraderie, like filling that space, that hollow in the hill. The energy is electric. We chant with the rest of them because goodness, we were so tired at closing. But when you hear hundreds of voices lift a chant for each other, for their dragons, for the refs at the end when they were thanking us, it's a bit of magic that I am always going to be grateful for. Like starting together, hearing the opening incantations, and at the end with all of us cheering as game closes. That is Drakenfest magic.
I love that. Oh my gosh. It's so cool to hear all the cool moments from all of your perspectives because, as we said earlier, us players have such a narrow view of the game. We see what we're doing and what the people immediately around us are doing, but you guys see everything. So, hearing what you think is your favorite part is absolutely wonderful to hear. And with that, actually, Aeon, best closing for a stream. I think that's fantastic. We are actually going to close out for the night. So thank y'all for joining us. This has been a fantastic stream. This is the second installment into the ref streams that we're going to be having for Drakenfest this year. Thank you again for having me hosting. This has been so much fun. I love getting to chat with all of you. This has been wonderful. If anyone has questions, I put the chat box command in the side. If we're not here, feel free to go ahead and pose your questions there. Otherwise, I think we are going to leave you all there. I hope everyone had fun and I hope everyone has a wonderful night. Take care.